Hi, I'm Rohan Joshi, comedian and film nerd, and you're with me and IMDb for Rohan Joshi's list of top 10 sci-fi films. So here we go. Also, Arya will be joining us, my cat, because number 10. Are you ready for this? All right, comically oversized board. Let's go. All right, at number 10, I have Predestination. I chose Predestination specifically because it's quite a low budget basic film, but the story is tight. The loop is incredible. It's one of the best takes on the grandfather paradox, and just has one all-time incredible performance by Sarah Snook. The first time I saw it, my hipster moment is telling people that I saw Sarah Snook before Succession, and the first time I saw her was in this film, and she's just so good. It's just her and Ethan Hawke, and the movie does so much with so little that it just became an instant favorite for me. I remember I watched it, and then I sort of immediately watched it again. Right. Number nine. What is at number 9? Let us see. Oh, I mean, come on. Interstellar. How could I not have this film on my list? You want my honest confession? Interstellar did not fully land for me the first time I watched it. All right, it actually took me a good 2-3 rewatches for me to fully appreciate the brilliance and just the genius of everything in play. Everything about Interstellar is beautiful. It is a human story. It is a story about how love stretches across time and space and all of those things. I think Christopher Nolan does that thing where he also indicates in some pretty devastating and terrifying ways the state of the world today. And it just has imagery that is, I think, over time going to be classic sci-fi imagery, like all the way up there with anything Kubrick has done. Yes, the way I watched it a second time is the way a lot of people watch movies a second time. I was just flipping channels on TV in my hotel room when I was bored, and it just happened to be on, and I just let it play. And I don't know what happened that second time. The movie just got me. And then there was just this point towards the end when he's all like, Murph, Murph, and I was just like, Murph, Murph. And yeah, since then I've watched it multiple times. All right, let's move on. Number 8. Who do we have here? I told you we'd be coming back to Stanley Kubrick because there is no Interstellar without 2001: A Space Odyssey. In fact, I feel like most modern sci-fi, at least the ones that deal with space and space travel and all of those things, they owe their aesthetic to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Honestly, the first time I watched it, I was one of those pretentious college film nerds, and I watched it on my rickety desktop PC. I found this print, and it's one of those films that my appreciation for it only grows as I get older and older, and I realize that it is a film with just stunning sweep, all right? I mean, 2001 now is in the past, but it still has a vision of a future that is incredible. I think its portrayal of Hal, the computer, is something that is ludicrously prescient in this world that we live in. And just the imagery, the editing, everything Stanley Kubrick brought to bear on this film as a filmmaker. The fact that it's like a good 50 years old now and still looks like $1,000,000. There is the single greatest cut of all time when it goes from that bone flying in the air to the spaceship and, you know, the whole Blue Danube space waltz that happens. Love you, Stanley Kubrick. Miss you. You would have hated ChatGPT. So one thing you should wait for if you're thinking of watching this film is if you're 16 years old, just don't. Wait until you're like 25, 30 years old and have a little concept of patience. This is, yeah, I promise I'm not trying to sound patronizing, but this is really the opposite of the Reels generation in terms of this is a film that absolutely takes its time. And it views humanity from an incredibly long and sometimes quite dispassionate lens. But enjoy, stick with it, enjoy, and just let it wash over you. Number 7. All right, Ex Machina. We got to talk about this film. All right, so for this slot, I actually spent a lot of time debating, should this be Ex Machina or should this be Her? Because they're both films that I think deal pretty well with the current reality that we live in terms of just the idea of AI chatbots or just creating technology that lives to just serve us and our desires and our loneliness and all of those things. But the reason I went with Ex Machina over Her finally is because the key difference between her and Ex Machina is that this film has 400% more evil, hubristic tech bro, and every time you watch him, you just want to punch his face in, and I mean that as a compliment to his performance. And yeah, it's so many things. It's sexy, it's horrifying, it's chilling, it's got this amazing modern tech aesthetic, and it's a story for the ages, and it is the ultimate cautionary tale, especially for the world that we're living in. Number 6, flying through this list now. Here we go. Snowpiercer. All right, straight up. Bong Joon-ho, one of the greatest modern filmmakers, I think. Snowpiercer was a film that I saw without seeing a single trailer, without seeing anything about it. I just heard a couple of people online just do a basic rant about how crazy it was, and I was like, okay, let me just get this film and watch it. And it's just one of those films where as it keeps going, like my jaw was about to unhinge and just land on the floor. It's so delightfully maximal. There's no other word for it. Everything is so over the top, right? Just from its metaphor of like humanity as this train from the back compartment to the front compartment, to just batshit performances from people like Tilda Swinton, who is in peak form in this movie. Yeah, every train car, every sequence just gets crazier and crazier, and the film just keeps doubling down on just what, again, a brutal, unflinching future we could be living in. This movie is insane. Your mileage on it may vary, but it's a movie I still go back to once every couple of years, just to remind yourself that in a world where everything is becoming about homogeneity and relatability, you can make something that is truly and completely original and 100% your vision. And I feel like Snowpiercer is that movie. All right, let's move on. Number 5. All right. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is my number 5 pick for a very straightforward reason. It is one of the greatest movies of all time, plain and simple. One of my favorite things about it, and one of the things that separates it from a lot of movies on this list, is that it's the sort of movie that puts aside a lot of the trappings you would expect with sci-fi. There's very little explanation of the tech, there's very little techiness, there's very little of the, what I'd call, in fact, the Ex Machina aesthetic. It just uses a very provocative scientific, or rather sci-fi idea, which is that what if you could just erase the memory of someone? What if you could erase every single painful memory? And it uses that to tell just one of the most heart-wrenching stories about a relationship. Yeah, I think it's one of those movies that is impossible to think about without just welling up a little bit. Number 4 on this list. Here we go. Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. This is a movie that I actually again came to appreciate much later in life. This is especially as somebody who is a content creator, somebody who lives in a world of content creators. What George Miller does with this film is tell you that you can have access to very few resources and just get so much out of it. It's one of the rawest action films ever, alright? Like Fury Road is great, but to pull this off in 1981, everything about the Mad Max universe is so spectacularly original and bizarre, right? Like just the idea of this future where everything is this apocalyptic wasteland, but the only thing that survives is like this almost, like, what else do you call it other than BDSM car culture? Which is pretty much what it is. It is absolutely the ultimate chase movie. It is a spectacular action movie. Even watching it today in 2025, there are moments where I forget to breathe because of just how tight and incredible it is just a fantastic testament again to just what one person with a singular vision can achieve when they put their mind to it. Here we go. Number 3. Number 3 for me is Akira. I watched Akira when in like the late 90s, early 2000s. I was very lucky to get a DVD of the film. And this film was, I think, my introduction to anime. It was my introduction to just the idea of filmmaking outside of the Hollywood and Bollywood space, where it just becomes this chaotic, dystopian, again, story of just two friends who are just dealt the worst hand in life and are trying to make the best of a bad situation. And from there, just gives you imagery that is part dystopian, part scientific, quasi-religious, just so many different things. Akira is the definition of every frame a painting. Blue pill, red pill, all of those concepts. This is the proto Matrix. All right. Before there was the Matrix, before there was anything, there was Kaneda, there was Tetsuo, and there was Akira. It still, I think, is one of the most gorgeous films ever made. Definitely, probably the greatest animated film of all time, and one of the greatest films of all time. At number 2, Jurassic Park. For a film that was made in 1993, Jurassic Park still looks and feels spectacular. I think this is true of most of Steven Spielberg's career, which is that you can make films that are definitively mainstream tentpole blockbusters that still have heart, that still have a strong core message. In Jurassic Park, it is before AI, before tech, before everything. This was the story in 1992 that said, guys, if you do things without thinking about the consequences, eventually a dinosaur will eat you while you are on a porta potty. And I think this is a good just thing for all of us to carry in our day-to-day lives as we move forward. I think it's also a testament to the fact that Jurassic Park special effects still look better than some things that came out in 2020 and 2021. And it just, again, just goes to show that with effort, with heart, and with a great story and a great cast, you can make a timeless film. Steven Spielberg's absolute finest hour. I was 11 years old when this movie came out, all right? So obviously my parents did not allow me to go to the theater and watch it. And then eventually one day they decided to watch it at home, except they said you can watch the first half because the second half is very violent. So for the longest time, I had only watched the first half of Jurassic Park. So I was all like, oh, what cute dinosaurs. And then many years later, I saw the second half and I was like, ah, what terrifying dinosaurs. So I spent the first half of my life thinking Jurassic Park is this heartwarming tale of what can happen when you create dinosaurs out of DNA that you found somewhere. And it was only in the later part of my life that I realized that it was a cautionary tale. Number 1. All right, we've gone from number 10. We've gone from time travel to space travel to, hubris to anime to everything. For me, there can only be one. There has always and forever only been one. And it is beyond a doubt The Matrix. I first watched The Matrix on the 4th of July, 1999. It was a weekend. I think it was a Sunday. It was at 9 o'clock in the morning. I had just won tickets to watch it. I hadn't seen a trailer. I hadn't seen anything. And I went and I watched it. And I can tell you definitively that this was absolutely the first time in my life I had a theatrical experience where when the movie ended and the credits rolled and the lights in the theater came up, the friend that I was with stood up to leave, and I still remember I looked at him and my exact words were, dude, I think I need a minute. My knees are just wobbling right now. I can't believe what I just saw. This is the greatest thing I have seen. Just as an allegory back then for what I thought was, the normie corporate path versus just truly finding yourself and embracing your true authentic self, to sort of predicting the tech-led future that we were going to live in, where we were going to just slowly cede all our control to machines while forgetting the things that make us human. It's the clothing and the aesthetic of the film, right? It had this beautiful black leather, BDSM sort of aesthetic. I'm not gonna lie, I made this movie my personality for a good 3 years after it came out. My first blog was called The Matrix Warrior. Not even ashamed to say that. I only wore black for 3 years after this movie came out. And just back then, watching it as forget what the world expects of you. Just embrace who you want to be. So I watched this film, no joke, I watched it I think 8 times in the theater. 8 times. And this is 9. I didn't have too much pocket money, nothing. I would just save up and I would go and I would watch The Matrix. As long as it was in theaters, I just went. And yeah, I took my grandmom to watch it. My grandmom did not enjoy it. My grandmom was just like, hey, loka kai udi marta hai evde. And I think that's also a fair estimation of some of the movie. But What an Udi Maring it was, can we just say. So many quotable lines. I was deeply in love with Trinity, like most boys my age at that time. This is what you call a foundational text in terms of everything. It is the ultimate cyberpunk text. It is the ultimate aesthetic text for movies that came for the next 10, 15 years. Like, just talking about it makes me know that I know that tonight, after everybody leaves, I'm going to throw The Matrix on again and watch it end to end. Because what else is there to do but follow the White Rabbit, Neo? Alright, so that was my top 10 science fiction IMDb watch list, from Predestination all the way to The Matrix, films that bent my brain, essentially turned it into soup and had it leak out my nose. Films that absolutely changed my worldview and made me deeply suspicious of talking computers named HAL or otherwise. But yeah, I hope you enjoy watching some of the films on this list, or all of them. I'd recommend it. But if you have your own opinions, please go to IMDb and make your own top 10 watch list. I would love to see it and hear about it. And just see your recommendations of sci-fi films that maybe I haven't seen or should see. So yeah, it was a ton of fun doing this, and can't wait to see your list. Peace out and follow the White Rabbit.